You know that version of you, the person who's calm, clear, and confident? She's not a dream. She's a timeline. And the moment you choose her, everything shifts. Hi, I'm Renu Mehta-Chang. I help women step out of that rat race of not being good enough to everyone and finding what is more than enough to themselves. If you're new, welcome. If you're returning back to this channel, welcome back. I'm so happy to be on this journey with you. This is an incredible place to be right now, spiritually awakening while everyone around us is up-leveling and upshifting themselves. The vibration of the earth is rising, and we are all in this together, learning, growing, healing. And as I've mentioned before in other videos, I believe this is our healing lifetime, and we are here to heal things and to be the best versions of ourselves. So if you're new, like, share, subscribe, leave me a comment. I'd love to support you on your journey. We're talking about timeline jumping. I know, this is such an exciting topic. When I first learned about timeline jumping years ago, it blew my mind. The first thing I had to say is, are you talking about like how they had the Avenger movies where there was a timeline, a difference? Yes, we are talking about that, but it's not as flashy like that or the show Quantum Leap we watched back in the day. It's a lot more subtle, but it is powerful. Timeline jumping is the energetic process of aligning with a new version of reality, one that already exists in the quantum field. It's not about escaping this life, but about choosing a new energetic pathway where you embody a more aligned version of yourself. And we don't jump timelines by forcing change. We jump by changing how we see ourselves, acting from one's future self's energy, and releasing the versions of ourselves that are tied to fear, lack, scarcity, survival, or limitation. It's about shifting and changing yourself so you can change in the quantum field, because time in the quantum field does not exist, and we can shift timelines effortlessly and easily as we clear and heal and upgrade ourselves in this moment in time, in this consciousness. So how does timeline jumping work? Well, for starters, we all are living in our current consciousness, in our current lives. And we have patterns that we are used to doing. You wake up, you have the same interactions with people, you have the same thought processes. And sometimes when you repeat old patterns over and over and over again, you're kind of in that lull of life. For example, you have a communication with someone and it's the same back and forth that always happens. And you're just tired of it or you're stuck of it. The minute you shift and change and say no to that pattern that you're used to doing, is how you shift your timeline. When we do the same thing over and over and over again, that keeps us into that current timeline we're living. But when we do things differently, when we step back and pause and say, you know, I always tend to react this way in a particular situation, but I'm going to do it a little differently, you are shifting timelines. Say you are in a situation that you constantly have occurring in your life. So for example, if you have a tendency of overextending yourself to everyone in your life, and then you realize you're run down, you're exhausted, you're tired, and you get a situation arises where someone needs your help, but you're done and you just can't do it anymore. By you choosing rest, is you shifting timelines because you're doing something differently. It's when you anchor into your own self-worth that things shift. It might not be this huge magical shift and change that you are seeing, but it is starting to shift everything inside, and things will continue to be different because you're not just healing, you're timeline shifting also. Have you ever made a small soul-aligned decision and suddenly everything in your life shifts and changes? That's not random. That's a timeline shift. And you're probably doing that without even realizing it. I remember when I first learned about timeline jumping, I thought it was wild. People were saying when you shift, when you heal something that is an old struggle or a pattern or something that you've been energetically blocked by, and you heal it and you clear it and you let it go, you shift timelines. And things in your reality change. Things in your reality shift. I'll tell you a quick story. I was doing a lot of work and doing a lot of healing work in my Divine Light Energy Healers Academy when I was taking it years ago. And I remember having a massive release about self-love. And I felt so different. I felt clearer. I felt more in tune to myself. And I remember I was driving to my patient's house on Monday, and there was a house on the left side, and it was white. And I remember it was all run down and ragged. And that next day, I had that massive clearing that I was mentioning before. And then another day passes, and I was driving back to go to that same location. And that house that I mentioned, the ragged, white, rundown house, when I looked at it out my window, it was brand new. It was blue. It had white trim, and it was completely updated. Now, I know construction is really fast these days, but not 24 hours. That was a timeline shift because I had cleared away something that was blocking me. I shifted timelines. And the obvious notice for me was that house. It was completely different. There are subtle changes you may notice when you timeline shift. For example, plants, their orientation in your home might be different. I remember a couple weeks ago, one of my plants was facing downward. The next day, it was facing upwards. So we can tell little cues that we've changed timelines. And yes, you can go from a higher timeline to a lower timeline. That is possible. But majority of times when you're doing healing work, because you're spiritually awakened and you are aware of what doesn't serve you anymore and what you don't need, you are able to say, I want to get rid of this. I want to heal this. And you do that active work, you are going to be shifting timelines for the better to higher timelines. There are infinite versions of you available to you in each moment. Each timeline is a vibrational state, a series of thoughts, choices, beliefs, and energies. And it's anchored in about how you feel, act, and respond to life. You shift timelines every time you say yes to rest instead of overextending yourself, releasing a pattern of self-abandonment, choosing to trust instead of fear, and forgiving something that you've been holding on to. These are just some examples of how you can shift timelines. Tiny aligned decisions equals quantum shifts. Now, there are millions of timeline possibilities out there, and it's too much to explain. But basically, we have multiple options and multiple different timelines. And when you choose something that's a higher vibration for yourself, that's really looking for you to be healed, to be clear, to not stay in a stuck pattern, that is a positive timeline for you. Every decision, belief, energetic shift moves us into new possibilities. And timeline jumping is an energetic alignment with a different version of you. It's less about fantasy, but more about embodiment. Your future self isn't waiting for you. She already exists. She's just waiting for you to catch up. How do you know if you have shifted into a newer timeline? So for example, you feel lighter, you feel calmer, you feel more clear with decisions that you have made. People and patterns start to fall away without much effort. And you're not emotionally triggered by things that used to hurt you. You start to see more synchronicities and more angel numbers like 333, 777, 1111, and things start to fall into place more easily, and you feel more peaceful. You have a sudden detachment to old pains and old stories and triggers. And you have this sense that You are not the same person that you were last week. You're a different version of yourself. That sense is that you have shifted timelines. You can do some practices that supports conscious timeline shifting. So number one, you can do some visualization of the person you want to be, but have it be in this moment in time, in this here and now, that you already are her. You can journal it out. How would she act? How would she speak? What would she say? How would she dress? If you have any stuck energy in your body, you can do some work with it. You can work with someone who does Akashic records or energy healing, and you can work with them to release this stuck energy. And you can be the embodiment of that woman you want to be. You can dress, speak, move, act like how you want. Be that chosen version, not bound by fear, because you don't jump timelines through pressure. You shift through presence. So every day when you get up in the morning, before you set your feet on the ground, you can just ask yourself, what version of me am I choosing to be today? You can do a quick visualization of the woman of who you want to be, and then act like you are her. The next version of you isn't out there. It's already inside you. Every small decision rooted in self-worth and self-truth is a jump, and the universe will meet you where you land. Do you feel like you're in between timelines? Does this resonate with you? I'd love to hear about it. So don't forget to leave me a comment. I'm so happy that we are here together, jumping timelines, shifting and changing who we are to be the best versions of ourselves. And speaking of that, I have a free gift for you, the Spiritual Awakening Kit. It's in the description box, where there are tools to help you stay grounded and be the best versions of yourselves. So check it out. It's down below. And I'm sending you a lot of love, peace, harmony, and joy. Bye for now.